Are we on?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, thanks for coming, everybody, all of you. We'll start with the approval of the agenda. Any additions, deletions, corrections? Teresa,
No.
anything? Dan?
No.
Lonnie? No? Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Thanks, Dan. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Lonnie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously, Linda. On to the consent agenda. Everything's there. Any questions for the administrator on the consent agenda?
What does it mean under someone where it says conditional approval?
We're waiting for insurance or, you know, just like one more piece of documentation. If they get us all the documents, they're ready to go.
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't
Yep.
something we were missing.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve as presented. Thanks, Mel. Do I have a
Second that.
Thanks, Dan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously, Linda. Visitors to the council. Heather, you are up.
I'm going to hand out just a couple little pieces here. I'm here to tell you just a little bit about the Venture Southeast Minnesota Loan Diversification Fund. The Journey to Growth is so this fund, we're actually shortening it up at the legislature to the Southeast DLF, that's Diversification Loan Fund. And the basic idea of this fund came out of the economic study, which you guys were involved with the League of Municipalities and with CETA, and that is on the League of Municipalities website. This is a copy of it. If you haven't gone through it, it's pretty interesting, and one of the things we did in regards to having this DLF proposal was look in here and say, many times a study will be done, and they are amazing studies, and then they sometimes have a tendency of sitting up on the shelf, and you take them out every now and again, but they don't actually always get the play they should have. So when we looked at the fund option, it was how can we take some of the pieces in here that legislation already approved of this study and keep it going with action. Many of the things in here are able to be funded by this revolving loan program. This is a one-time request right now, and I just checked before I came here. It was just introduced in the Senate today, so it was carried by Representative Greg Davids in the House. It's got Representative Bennett, Haley, and Petersburg, who are co-authoring it in the House. Today it was presented to Senate by Senator Miller, and Jasinski, Sparks, Goggin, and Draheim are all co-authored on the Senate side. It's currently in Commerce Committee right now on the House side. There are no hearings yet scheduled, and nothing yet since it was just introduced in the Senate. We've received a few resolutions already from communities today. We just received from Chatfield, Stewartville, Harmony is on their way. Brenda Johnson, which I'm assuming many of you, if not all of you, are very familiar with the League of Municipalities. She, in the last meeting, which Dan was there, approved and made a motion that was carried for the League's support of this, as well as she's helping us work with all of the other communities to get those letters of support and resolutions. On March 11th, day at the Capitol, through the Rochester Area Chamber of Commerce, we're making a dedicated effort to get out and talk to the individuals that we need to in regards to this. The strategy, since we might not have all the time or the resources to talk to everybody, so we're prioritizing which legislators we need to speak to. So I'm here today to ask for council's support of this. I have a copy of a letter of support, and I can send that electronically. I can send a link to the study if you need that, and I can send you the bill language as well so that you can have an idea of that. And then we'll keep all of our communities up to date with what's going on. I'll just need a point person here, and I'll be more than happy to include you on that. update list of what's happening with the bill as it hopefully travels through legislation this session. And I'll take any questions if there are any.
Does Trinity Growth have any other revolving loan funds, or would this be a first of its kind for the organization?
This would be a first of its kind for this organization, and Rochester is excluded. All Rochester businesses, the Rochester community is excluded. The loan itself could be used for childcare, it could be used for affordable housing, it could be used for transportation in regards to tourism or bike trails or community improvement. Anything that we can look at and say, that's part of attraction, talent attraction, part of workforce retention. We made this with a wide berth, and we talked to legislators such as former Representative Randy Demmer, who is one of the drivers of this, one of our Journey to Growth volunteers. And so using his guidance in regards to this as far as how this could actually support some of those programs currently out there through DEED and through the Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation. This is a one-time appropriation, this would be a revolving loan fund, and it would in turn generate that revenue back into the state. Hopefully it will be a pilot project for other regions to look at too, if it goes as we hope it will.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Questions?
No.
Comments, questions?
I guess the only comment I have is legislators love to see paper where you say, all these cities' resolutions. They wanna fold it out on the table and say, we got 40 cities that are behind us. And they say that goes a lot farther than just, saying we got help. If you throw out the paper, the rest of them gotta get excited about it.
And that would be great, when we get a committee hearing time, it would be wonderful to be able to have that in the hands of our legislators, to be able to spread that across the table when we're having those conversations. Thank you, Dan. So I am here asking for a resolution or letter support from Casson, the community itself, and also any of the businesses that any of you might think would be interested in this, that would be interested in writing a letter of support. Well, we'd love to have that as well.
I can't see why we would not pass a resolution that we have in front of us. Any type of revolving loan fund that our local communities have available to us, why wouldn't we do that? So I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution approved.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
so
help.
much, you guys.
And then
Appreciate it.
who would we get if we had businesses, or if we brought this to our next Chamber of Commerce? Who would we get? Back to you?
Yes,
Directly?
back to me,
Okay.
yep. And I didn't put any information on there, but info@j2gmn.com
Okay.
comes directly to me as well, so anyone can get in touch with me that way. And Dan knows how to get me after hours as well, so.
Perfect.
Well, actually, everyone can have my cell phone, so.
At my
Thank you all
office.
so much, I appreciate it.
Thanks. Drive safe on your way home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the public forum. No visitors, any cards? You don't want to say anything else? Okay. New business, distribution from
Compass.
Compass.
Yeah. Yes, so we belong to a group that uses our combined power, power to purchase power, our combined buying power to get, good, rates on electric power. That group had an investment which was sold last year. The board of Compass had held onto those funds to see where we landed at the end of the year. The decision was made to go ahead and distribute it 1/12 to each of the current members. That's $166,667. We did receive that check. It has been deposited in our electric account. The money, I'm recommending we use a portion of it to purchase electric territory. We actually serve some homes on the far east side of Carter Blaine's development. We serve them. They are not currently in our territory. We would purchase that additional territory from Excel. I just got a follow-up email today saying that they would come to town to review where those service points were. We also identified that the dollar store is in our territory. We could purchase the infrastructure from Xcel Energy to start providing electric service there. That could be a portion of these funds. And then, as your discussions have evolved about the revolving loan fund that the EDA did have, we learned that there were several restrictions placed on that at the state and federal level, and the decision was made to use those funds for the Small Cities Development Grant application in order to be able to do more for homes or for commercial properties in lieu of getting grant money to use for commercial properties. So that leaves your EDA without essentially a revolving loan fund. Once we determine how much we need for territory, I would recommend that the council could use the remaining funds to establish a new revolving loan fund with requirements set by the EDA for locally how those funds would be distributed. So that's one recommendation. Someone else has also mentioned to me that we could use that for parkland purchase if the council should move forward with a proposed parkland purchase as well. So there's no need to make a decision tonight since we don't have any actual numbers other than we know how much money came in from that investment.
Okay. It makes sense to look at the territory acquisition, and then the rest of it, I think, until we know what the acquisition cost would be, and we can have it updated at the work session. If you think Excel will be back, that's 2 weeks up, that might be too soon.
They're gonna be in town next week.
Okay.
So let's see how quickly they
We'll just
turn
get an
around and
update
put
then.
numbers together.
Okay.
Yep.
And then make a decision on the remainder after we know the
Right.
amount, because if it's a tiny amount, then maybe the revolving loan fund is
Right.
what you set up with it, so.
Okay.
We can put in this in street.
Well, when we bought the, when we bought the infrastructure for the high school, and that little bit of extra territory was in the $40,000 range, so, hoping
Okay, well,
somewhere in there.
I would say if that sounds consensus to everybody, find out what our
Yes, exactly.
options are in
exactly.
dollars, and then decide from there where to go,
Yep.
and, we might need to allocate some of
Yep.
that, extra sand and salt.
Salt and overtime.
Repairs.
We don't wanna.
Repairs.
Yeah.
So,
I think the overtime is gonna be the.
It's gonna be scary,
surprise.
but
Yeah.
you gotta do what you gotta do.
thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Number 2, resolution approving an authorization with submission of a grant application to the DNR for the local trail connection program.
There is an opportunity to apply for grant money to pave the trail that's north of the church. So it comes from, north of the church comes from the Sunset Trail towards North Park. There's actually a trail easement that's between the church and the Marty subdivision, but it's not paved.
Which church?
Our Savior
Lutheran.
Lutheran.
Yeah.
On the
Methodist?
backside of, well.
TMNG.
Or are you talking about, you're talking about the Methodist church?
Yeah,
Yep,
The
that's
Methodist
Methodist.
church.
Methodist.
Yeah, over
Okay.
to the dump road.
Yep.
Yes,
It's right up.
Yep.
west
The
of
kids
TMNG.
use it all the time.
Right.
The dirt trail between the trees?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
yes.
Okay.
So.
This is an application to get grant
To
funds.
pave that, and then when it gets to the corner of North Park, to actually take the trail to the sidewalk that's on the south side of North Park. So it's about $100,000 project, and we're approaching, DNR about helping fund that. I believe 25% needs to be covered by the city. I think that's in your resolution.
$25,814.20.
Yes, yep, that's your 25%.
And where does that come from?
Will be, once we know that we have the grant, then we can look at sources of funds.
Okay.
it-
So something we can apply for the grant, get the grant, and then
Grant.
decide if we're gonna do it,
Um.
or how to do it.
How to.
How to do it.
Okay.
How to do it.
Okay. Anyway, this fits into the Safe Routes to School?
Well, it is part of the Safe Routes to School plan. It's kind of outside of the TAP grant, because our TAP grant was looking at the really close-in stuff. So this kind of gets us a little, stretches us a little further out outside of our TAP grant area as well.
And how long of a time period on applying for the grant and getting it, and then actually doing the project? Am I
Boy, that's a better question for Stephanie. I'm sorry.
Well, I was, if we apply for the
Yeah.
grant and they come back in 2 weeks and say, yep, you got it, but you have to have it done by July 1st, well, we need to find $25,000.
I believe that we're actually doing a pre-grant, we're gonna, after this resolution, we're actually gonna do a pre-grant submission to get
Okay.
feedback, and then
So we have
submit
ideas
for
that
the
before
grant,
actually
so
submit
we
for it.
have a little time.
So this is for the
I think this will go in for review with the pre-grant application. This would be for the full application,
Okay.
but we're gonna pre-submit it for review.
Okay.
There's always a possibility there's still money from, you were just talking about from Compass too.
Right, I just wanna make sure.
Yeah, well, we can identify the funds.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any questions, anybody else? Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
To what?
To write the resolution, the resolution approve the authorization, yeah.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Lonnie, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you. Mayor's report, I just have a couple thank yous, to make, and that's to our Public Works Department has been putting in some time here recently, and I know they've gotten a little bit of feedback from citizens that, snow in the driveway and this type of thing, but there's snow everywhere, and our Public Works Department, I think, deserves a big, slap on the back and a couple of days of sleep.
They did good.
So they've been doing a great job. I talked to Charlie Sunday afternoon a little bit, and, today a little bit, so they're doing a great job. They're doing what they can do. It is what it is. It's the most snow we've ever had in, February, so, and there's more on the way, so, I just like to thank them for that. And then, the emergency services people who've been, putting some extra time in with, the challenges of getting around with abandoned cars in their way and that type of thing. So, shout out to them too for doing what they do and having patience that, I might not have. I told Charlie, I said, let me drive the loader for the day, I'll make sure the cars aren't in their way.
Did he say no?
He said no. So anyways, I'd like to thank them for that, and then if we could, Nancy, since you're here, just at the next meeting possibly, where we're at as far as budget, because we budget so much for snow and all that kind of stuff, just to, it's just the overtime, the materials and whatever, just a ballpark, just so we know if we have to, as little things come up throughout the year, we allocate to that versus something else.
Yeah, we'll have time cards in on Friday, or Monday.
There'll be a little bit of repairs out of there too, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll have time cards in on Monday, so that'll help us see.
And then the other thing, just to, maybe our engineer later, we don't have anything on the engineer's report, but something to think about for the future. I've been talking to quite a few people here recently and some other folks in different towns, is we need to be prepared for water this spring. Cause there's not a lot of places for this water to go.
Yep.
And the further downstream you get, the big river's full to the south. The big river's full, the Ohio that feeds into the big river. I was talking to some flood management people that work for, the feds, and they say it could make 93 look like child's play if we get a really fast thing. So I don't know if you have any of it, just to basically communicate maybe our April newsletter to people that remember that when you bought your property, check out your closing papers, there are drainage easements in town. And just because you mow that grass, or you put your garden there, or your yard barn, or your shed, that's still the drainage easement, and that's where the water is supposed to go. So I think we're gonna have our hands full with, water this spring, especially if we get 65 and rain and sun for a week, so. Anyway, I just wanted to get that on the public record for all the people listening at home, that there's gonna be a lot of water, so. That's all I've got. On down to administrator, anything to add, Brandon? He's grim. Could you send me an updated, remember 2 years ago you sent me in the spring, the county GIS, whatever it is, that we can, the overlay, where we can take like the property and then overlay the property lines and the easements? I can't remember what that was called.
Yeah, we still have that. We have
Is it updated or is it still the same?
we update it continuously.
Could you send me an updated one? 'Cause
Yep.
that way, I went right to people's houses when they complained too much, and I just showed them, here's your property, and I popped in the line and said, here, your garden's 40 feet past the property line in the drainage easement.
So there's two, websites. The one that's actually on Dodge County's website is their parcel viewer, and that is a public accessible, website. That's probably your best bet to send people to. We have an internal one that we don't necessarily release to the public, that has our, public infrastructure on that you may not wanna
Sure.
get into anyway.
Right.
It has some additional information. I'm happy to share it with you, but generally, we don't wanna release that to the public, so.
Right, okay, but the parcel viewer would, it would show people that.
Yep, and I can send you the GIS.
Send me that link.
DOT's got a link too.
What's that?
DOT's got a link too. MnDOT,
You
down
know,
to the county and township and cities.
Not the, they don't necessarily have the parcel information available, and that's more of the powerful thing you're probably looking for, Chris, is
It
more of
just
the.
helped on the one
Parcel,
situation
yeah.
where,
Mhm.
you know, my garden's getting flooded, so I stopped by and just said, well, hey, here's your garden.
Yeah, you're probably on parkland or whatever else, yeah.
35 feet past the property
Yeah.
line, you know, and they mow it, it's nice to maintain it, but that's where the water's supposed to go.
Sure.
When it cools up, so, you wanna be respectful and.
Yeah, if you
the
just
way
generally
do
say,
it.
go to the Dodge County website, they'll have all the
Okay.
parcel information for the entire
All
county.
right, thank you.
Yep.
Personnel, water wastewater operator position.
There is no recommendation from the Public Works Department to retain the individual who was our probationary employee. So we will need to replace the water wastewater position. We had a meeting today with the folks from Manpower, and we should have a contract for them for you to consider at our next meeting.
Okay, thank you. The attorney's report, we're gonna have a closed session to get a litigation update. Is this gonna be recorded or not recorded? The closed session will not be recorded. We'll close the meeting and reopen it when we are finished.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it. I just give everybody your number for the drainage and stuff.
Direct dial.
Yeah.
Just kidding, I wouldn't give out your number.
You mean I wasn't supposed to?
See you guys. Thanks, Brandon.